What's up, Amon? How you doing?
Good, man. It was really fun playing at your tournament this weekend at the DP Hoop Summit 2022. I feel like I played really well. I'd love to see my stats. Is there anywhere those were recorded?
Man, we loved having you at the tournament. Unfortunately, like most grassroots circuits, we don't have access to your stats to distribute. But that's a really good idea. I really wish somebody would solve the problem of high value, high quality, accurate statistics that can easily be accessed right after tournaments.
I feel like as an athlete, I'm trying to advocate for my career. And those statistics would help me do that and get to the next level. When I'm playing at these tournaments, the recruiters are not even watching me. They're not even looking at my games. Everyone's just following the hype of Shaden Sharp and Cam Whitmore and Kaysen Wallace. I don't know. I just feel like that would help a lot.
Hey, keep your head up, kid. I'm sure somebody will solve that problem. A few years later. Hey, Amon, did you check out your statistics?
Let's check them out together, actually. Wow. This is awesome. I can see my own stats. I can see all of my friends. I can follow my teammates, my competitors, all of the homies. This is amazing. I'm really, really happy with this. This is really amazing.
Man, I love that Cerebro Sports was able to provide you with those box score stats.
Not even just box scores, Danish, check it out. I can even see custom Cerebro metrics. Like my DSI was an 89. You already know I was getting in my chair playing some defense this tournament.
You played incredibly. You caught my attention. Have any recruiters reached out?
Yes, check it out. Texas Tech just viewed my profile. Holy crap, maybe they think I'm a good fit for their team.
Let's go. You could be the next JT Toppin. Who knows?
Wow, what a performance. Very nice. Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan Gerardo, co-founder and CEO at Cerebro Sports. I'm joined on stage today by my Oscar-winning teammates, our president and general manager, Danish Pradhan, and our head of AI, Aman Sapariwala. Yes.
High school recruiting is fundamentally broken. On one side, you have athletes with limited visibility and don't have the knowledge to know how to get to the next level. On the other side, you have recruiters who are working with incomplete data and relying on word of mouth to make high-impact decisions. How do we know this is a problem? Well, just 1 out of 3 Americans drafted in the NBA were ranked in the top 100 in their high school classes. That includes the players on screen. That means 2/3 of those players were missed, including the players on screen: Jimmy Butler, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, and Paul George. Before Cerebro, I was leading programming for underserved communities around the globe with a mission to provide resources including scholarships, mentorship, coaching, and equipment to those communities. When Ryan and I met, we aligned on a vision to make sure that every young athlete has access and a fair shot at achieving their dream. In one example, when I was in the remote parts of Pakistan, there was a kid who had taught himself basketball on YouTube, and him and his friends built a court in the middle of the mountains. He was as good as any 15-year-old I'd ever seen, but his dream of making the NBA, I knew, would never become a reality. And so that's a problem we set out to solve.
The solution is basketball's largest global box score database. Cerebro features over 5,000 of the top men's, women's, youth, college, and professional competitions. We aggregate NBA quality data thanks to a self-perpetuating flywheel effect. We start by partnering with event organizers who submit their box scores to us at a certain quality standard. Those go into a centralized database for talent evaluators to look at and run global searches. From there, players are aware of this through the player app that an athlete like Aman showed us. And they put pressure back onto event organizers to make sure that their competitions are going into that database, creating a nice, tight flywheel effect. Eventually, if events aren't listed on Cerebro, like a local coffee shop would be listed on Google Maps to a traveler, it's almost like it's completely undiscoverable. Did it even happen? Did this game even exist? That is the power of Cerebro's flywheel effect.
Ryan explained that we have both the largest and highest quality box score data set. Well, how do we achieve that? Well, we have everything publicly available that we've audited and quality checked to meet NBA standards. And in addition to that, we've partnered with the largest event operators for youth basketball to collect exclusive proprietary data and make sure they have the box scores that athletes and recruiters are looking for. On top of that, we've built machine learning, computer vision, and AI to scale and streamline our processes for everybody in basketball's ecosystem. When we were deep diving this problem, it was apparent that it was even worse, exponentially worse actually, in women's sports. Decision makers don't have the right data to make high impact decisions. So we've committed at least 50% of resources to making sure we're bringing equity in the space so young women are able to get to the next level and have a fair shot.
Okay, so now we've gotten all this data, right? How do we deliver it to our customers? How do our end users actually utilize this data? Well, in addition to raw API data licensing, we provided a portal called the Cerebro Scope, Statistical, Contextual, Objective Player Evaluation. This portal allows any talent evaluator, coaches, scouts, recruiters, even agents, to evaluate players on the basis of their statistics with filters, queries, and additional search criteria. At this point, over 1,000 of the top decision makers are already using this portal to find and evaluate talent. And here's how it's done.
This is the core feature, Cerebro Global Search. Here you can see millions of records, there are millions of records accessible. You're able to search by a number of different categories like graduating year, height, weight, geography, many others. You can also search on the basis of statistics, such as our proprietary archetypes that utilize our proprietary metrics and make it really easy to sight read a player. We click filter and boom, we've worked our way through 1.5 million player records down to just a handful. We find a player that's worth looking at, and now we're able to see their biographical information as well as a full career resume of everything they did at the high school, collegiate, and professional levels. A lot of what you see here is exclusive to Cerebro, and a fun fact, Cerebro is the only place you can find LeBron James high school data.
Thanks, Ryan. So what comes next, right? Well, it's really three things. Number one, as Danish alluded to, the push for women's sports. Cerebro's already compiled the largest collection of women's stats across any platform. Now it's about getting that in the hands of all the decision makers and the teams so that they can make more educated and informed decisions about talent evaluation. Take Paige Beckers, for example. We track her performance well before she was even 16 years old at the FIBA level with our CRAM metric, a one-stop performance statistic that tells you all about how good a player was at their event relative to the rest of the competition. We did the same thing at college when she was at Connecticut. And now, because of that historical sample, we are best positioned to predict exactly how well she'll be able to perform based on historical data at the professional level. And so that brings me to number two, predictive analytics. Cerebro is partnering with Google to build a predictive model to develop a future box score for a player at any level. And the use cases for this are endless. Think transfer portal, think G League call-ups, even brands who are trying to identify the talent that they need to sponsor for NIL. This is the power of the predictive model. And finally, number three, artificial intelligence. Cerebro is building a custom large language model to make it easy to interact with this expansive data set in any way that you would like, through visualizations, through enhanced AI queries. And honestly, this is what's most exciting for me, because now, coaches, scouts, recruiters, agents, but even media and fans eventually will be able to ask about any basketball performance that occurred worldwide in history. Let's take a look. Here you can see I'm going to query from Cerebro AI Paige Beckers stats at her youth levels and at college this past season. Now the last part of my question here was a predictive box score at the next level, once she inevitably gets drafted to the WNBA. And in a matter of seconds, not only did we get her stats at those previous levels, but we get a visualization of her CRAM at the projected WNBA level.
Keep it on the slide. So Aman showed what the future state looks like. So how's that different than what's currently happening? Right now, if an executive, GM, coach needs to make a decision, well, they'll reach out to somebody on their staff, they'll go to a junior level analyst, and then it'll come all the way back up. It's a game of telephone. So we're taking it from this slow inaccurate, unreliable process to streamlining it to where a decision maker can quickly get the access to the data they need, just like Aman showed there. So we explained what the problem is and how we're going to solve it. Let's talk quickly about who's going to solve that problem. As you can see on screen, we've put together a diverse team of experts from across business, sports, and tech, partnering with advisors who have expertise and experience from the WNBA and NBA as coaches and executives. We all share a dream of making sure every young athlete has the resources they need and the stats to advocate for themselves to achieve the dream of reaching the next level. Thank you. We'd love to field your questions.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Great job. I guess first question for me is, could you just talk a little bit more about how you ensure the quality of the data that's collected at the youth events, and how do you incentivize those event operators to actually invest in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about the quality part. You can talk about the incentives. So the quality, once we receive the data, one of our co-founders, John Cho, on screen, he worked for 20 years with Daryl Morey at the Rockets, and he's built a process internally which checks each of the games to make sure that it matches up with what's available online and cross-references it. And what I mentioned with AI and computer vision is what we're putting on top of that to streamline the processes that he's built.
At their core, these event operators facilitate two baseline products for two different audiences. They're serving college coaches, and then they're serving the players themselves. In both cases, we can drive a superior outcome by listing their event in our platform. These event organizers know that there's demand coming from the college coach side, and then there's demand coming from the player side as they push to, because these are supposed to be recruiting events in the first place, right? So this is the way to be seen.
Can you talk about the business model, sort of sources of revenue, and then if you are not profitable yet, when you might see that on the horizon?
Yeah, great questions. So initially we built this database, and this year what we focused on is the B2B side, which is licensing our API to teams across leagues, as well as building custom products for them. And then at the end of the second half of this year, we're focused on our B2C model, which is the player app that Aman demonstrated in the beginning, giving these athletes access to their data. In terms of profitability, we're aiming to achieve that by the end of the year. We've 3x'd 2024's revenue already year to date. Thank you.
How important is the reputation of the scoring, like I forget what you guys call it, like
CRAM
yeah.
metrics.
So how important is that to your growth? And then in terms of getting that out there, right? We talked about the top 100, like Scout, Rivals,
Yeah.
24/7, all those guys. Is that a competitor, or is that a distribution opportunity for you?
Yeah, I can take the first part of that question. So with our proprietary metrics, the value prop is really for teams and leagues that don't have deep analytics staff. So the NBA, candidly, probably not going to find a ton of value in that. But colleges, high school, international teams that don't have these deep resources, they can leverage that to make quick, informed decisions. And for them, we're essentially building a front office in a box. So they can view everything in one place. And they've shown that it's a way to start, right? You start with stats. It's not the perfect end outcome. It's an additional tool that they can leverage to make decisions when they don't have the full resources and capacity.
Yeah, and the top 100 question is really just answered by piggybacking on top of that. It's not for lack of effort, right? The top 100s, they try their best. It's impossible to go watch 20 million kids playing basketball and see them in every game and evaluate them all perfectly objectively. So it's a partnership opportunity, not a competitor thing, you know? But yeah, we think that there's a lot of room for the top 100s to improve by being powered by data and then applying their naked eye test to really refine the actual rankings.
Yeah, the challenge there is that a lot of these lists are informed by politics, bias, as well as resources. And so those athletes with the resources are most likely to be seen by scouts and recruiters because they can get to those events. And so we're trying to bring equity to the field by making sure everybody has that same visibility.
Can I just ask a question? So if a recruiter sees the data in your box score and says, oh, that player looks interesting, like presumably they're not making a scholarship decision. How do they, so if I want to see that player's highlights or I want to see that player play, like what's the next step?
That's great observation. Cerebro, as Donish said a moment ago, start with stats, right? This is a starting place. And there are many great partnership opportunities here, whether you're talking about Huddle, Synergy, anyone that has that video to then dig in, go to the next level. This also informs like who they should be seeing on recruiting road trips too, right? It's not that you need to stop doing what you've been doing, it's that you need to be better informed because you're looking at things through a false prism right now, and we can allow you to see every player everywhere.
Well said.
So just quickly, beyond basketball, could you apply this to another sport?
That's our favorite question. That's why we're Cerebro Sports and not Cerebro Basketball. As part of on our roadmap for 2026 and down the line, we do plan to expand to other sports. We've talked about soccer, volleyball, baseball, and then we've had some internal hot topics around new sports, or at least new to the U.S., like pickleball and cricket. But what we want to do is really get it right with basketball, not try to do too much all at once. Figure out what the perfect formula is, and then apply that where it's most translatable and most needed.
And probably a quick follow-up to that, but at the NBA level, you have 30 teams. At the NCAA, you have 300 and something. And then I have a basketball coach in my family, and he's no budget. School's way underfunded.
Yes.
Pricing for someone like that who might be your next, you look at John Beilein, he did every level. So,
Yes.
like, how do you get John Beilein so that when he's NBA, he's ready to go and expand that spend that he has with you?
Yeah, to clarify, is the question around how are we making sure
Yeah,
those
basically
without
your
resources?
pricing based
Yes.
on budgets, pretty much.
Yes, no, that's, there are restrictions, especially at the collegiate level, which we have to abide by. But the point I think you're alluding to is exactly how we informed our pricing model, like making sure that those with less resources have access to it. And up to date, we've actually offered a free version and a very, very cheap $1,000 or less for those schools so they can have access and highlight those kids so they have a chance of making it at that next level. But that's exactly right. Cool. Thank you all very much.